from being able to kick defenders to banning dunking because a player was too tall. These are NBA players that changed the rules. And first up, we have LeBron James, and he forced the NBA to create a rule because he was getting bullied. In 2010, LeBron James famously took his talents down to South Beach.
And this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
Everything was fine until the Heat had their first game against the Cavaliers, and LeBron would be in Cleveland for the first time since he joined his boys down in Miami. Everyone in the world was tuning in to watch the King play against his old team, but the NBA had a real problem on their hands. News was circulating around the NBA that fans were planning to bring anti-LeBron merch. Everyone in Cleveland knew LeBron was coming to town, so they jumped on the opportunity to make shirts and signs.
LeBron, how could you do this to us? We love you in Cleveland. I'm not even from Cleveland. I'm from Pittsburgh. I got a Pittsburgh hat on, but we love you in Cleveland. How could you do this to us?
To show LeBron how they really felt when he left them for Miami, the NBA even had to make a rule, making sure if you brought any anti-LeBron merch, you would not be allowed in the stadium. However, shirts and signs were the least of the NBA's problems, because they were worried LeBron James was in danger. Fans were not only making merch, they were burning jerseys, making threats, and crying?
He deserves everything he gets. I hope he never wins anything in Miami.
Not only did the NBA have to make a rule to make sure LeBron wasn't bullied during the game, but they also had to double the security at the stadium, making sure no one tried any funny business. LeBron ended up winning that game, but hey, at least there's always next year.
I'm a big LeBron fan, and this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. To say that I hope that LeBron doesn't win a championship in Miami, and I hope we come back stronger next year and we win the NBA championship.
Next year, baby. There's always next year.
Creating a rule to make sure LeBron doesn't get bullied is pretty insane. But what's even crazier is making a rule so players would stop kicking each other. We've all seen Draymond Green accidentally kick someone in the nuts not once, but twice. This man really has something against Steven Adams, but the first player to pull off kicking a defender was Reggie Miller. Miller was known for his deadly shooting, and more importantly, being able to draw fouls while shooting it from deep. And his secret? Well, Reggie Miller knew the NBA rules like the back of his hand, and he knew if there's a defender contesting him, he's able to kick his legs out not only to draw a foul, but also to create space. Just look at the difference between when there's a defender on him and when he's wide open. But this rule wouldn't be made until 7 years after Reggie retired. And although they named it the Reggie Miller rule, it was players like Dirk Nowitzki and Kobe Bryant who really forced the NBA to make a change. Or they were just gonna keep kicking defenders. Being able to kick your defender is about as unfair of a rule as it gets. But this next rule saved players from being seriously injured. Daryl Dawkins was a 6'11", 250-pound monster, and the way he dominated the NBA was by dunking on everyone. But it was in 1979 when Dawkins would create a massive problem for the NBA. Not only did he shatter one backboard, but less than 2 weeks later, he would destroy another. 2 backboards in 2 weeks was enough to have the NBA replace every single backboard with a different type of glass that would hopefully withstand a monstrous slam. But just 13 years later, the NBA's biggest nightmare would enter the league. Shaquille O'Neal was a massive 7'1", 325-pound monster, and he was breaking backboards before his first game in the NBA. Now, since the NBA already fixed the backboards for Daryl Dawkins, everything was good, right? Wrong. Instead of shattering backboards, Shaq was pulling them down. As soon as he stepped foot in the NBA, during his rookie year, he pulled down and broke 2 different hoops. One was during a putback dunk, when the hoop completely broke. And just a few games later, Shaq had a dunk that almost ended his own season. He brought the entire hoop down on himself and left it totally destroyed. The NBA had to make a new rule, because not only was Shaq costing them a lot of money by breaking all their hoops, but it also took them around 15 minutes to bring out another one. What the league came up with was the breakaway rim. The new rims came locked and loaded with new spring technology. So when a player as big and strong as Shaq went to try to break the hoop, he won't pull down the entire thing, just bend the rim a little bit. But breaking backboards and rims isn't the only rule Shaq caused the NBA to make, because Shaq even has his own rule named after him. Shaquille O'Neal was one of the most dominant players ever. NBA teams tried everything to stop him, even creating Hack-a-Shaq. Teams couldn't slow him down, so instead of giving him the chance to dunk on them, they decided to foul him and send him to the free throw line, where he only shot 52%. On average, Shaq was only going to make 1 out of 2 free throws, so teams were betting that they could score more. Shaq was fed up with the new strategy, so he went to David Stern to complain. Next time someone hack-a-shacks me, I don't mind sitting 15 to 20 games. Shaq was even thinking about starting a fight after someone fouled him, just so he can get suspended for a few games. Stern's reply was, "Shaq, you're over here complaining about fouling. I've got 28 teams complaining about you." But Shaq was still pissed. I mean, who wouldn't be? Getting fouled 5 seconds into the NBA season. So the NBA had to make a change. But it wouldn't come until 2016. 5 years after, Shaq would hang him up for good. The new rule would make sure no one could foul a player without a ball for 46 minutes. Once the clock hit 2 minutes left in the game, teams were allowed to foul and hack-a-Shaq all they wanted. Now, one NBA rule that no one liked was banning the finger wag. Dikembe Mutombo was the player to make the finger wag famous, and he pulled out the finger anytime he could. No, not that finger. Not that one either. I'm talking about this one. It was his signature move, especially after getting a block. And with over 3,000 blocks in his career, he was constantly pulling off the finger wag to make sure defenders knew they weren't getting anything easy around him. But his famous taunt was causing everyone in the NBA to start doing it, even MJ, giving him a taste of his own medicine after putting him on a poster. However, it was the 1998 season, and the NBA was cutting down on all the fighting and taunts around the league. And one of the first ones to go was the finger wag. Anytime anyone pulled it off in a game, they would be fined $15K, including the man who created it. But the finger wag isn't the only taunt the NBA made a rule for, because they fine players anytime they do a celebration that's not PG-13. Gerald Green's shooting celebration cost him $25,000. Dwight's tongue cost him $35,000, and Kyrie using his own version of the finger wag cost him $50K. And the worst of them all was the big balls dance. NBA players have done this celebration throughout the years, but the first player to showcase it was Sam Cassell in the early 2000s. However, he would soon regret doing the dance at all. 2004, Wolves vs Kings, semi-conference finals. Cassell hit a corner 3 and started to celebrate like he always did. But this one was different. He was hurt. And after getting checked out, he found out he received a small fracture in his hip from doing the big balls dance. How is that even possible? Sam Cassell's coach said, "No question. I think about that dance all the time. How they might have had a chance at the NBA Finals had Cassell never pulled out the dance." The NBA was forced to become even stricter around taunts and celebrations, banning the dance just 6 years later and fining players every time they did it. Now, no NBA fan or player wanted their favorite taunts and celebrations banned. But this next rule is what everyone wanted. 2017, Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals, and the Spurs are beating the Warriors when Kawhi Leonard went up for the jump shot. Zaza Pachulia slid underneath him, causing Kawhi to land on his foot and not only be out for the rest of Game 1, but also the rest of the series. This sparked the NBA to create a new rule to protect their players, allowing the player taking a shot to be able to land safely and avoid any injuries. They called it the Zaza Rule because he almost ended my man Kawhi's NBA career. But that's not the only rule Zaza has made, because right before he hurt Kawhi, he was almost a starting center in the All-Star game. Yeah, the guy who averaged 6 points and 6 rebounds was being voted to be the starter over players like DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, and Marc Gasol. He was on the most popular team in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors, fresh off of blowing a 3-1 lead to LeBron and the Cavs. But Zaza was a fan favorite, and back in 2017, the fans were the ones who got to vote who the starters were. So with over 400,000 votes, Zaza was set to be the starter in All-Star Weekend. But the NBA saw the mistake they made, and yet again would have to make the Zaza Rule. This allowed not only fans to vote, but media members as well, making sure someone who only averaged 6 points wasn't starting over the best centers in the NBA. However, the worst part about all of this is that they put his picture right next to Kawhi Leonard, the man whose career he almost ended just 3 months later. But that's not even the only career this man has tried to end. This guy has a problem with Russell Westbrook. What is he doing? But these are just players who change the rules. The crazy video is 12 facts you didn't know about LeBron James, and I know you want to watch that.